Okay, so we should be live.
Hello, hello. It's me, Sandy here.
Hi,
Sandy
it's me, Dana Balicki, transformational coach out in Joshua Tree, California. My beautiful work wife, favorite astro honey, Sandy Citron over in New York. We're just going to do a quick tech check to make sure that everything is working and flowing before we dive in. So you can just go ahead and settle in, get comfy, have your journal. Okay, my journal's in the other room. This is my book, but have your journal, have your pen, do what I say, not what I do. And we're just going to check a couple of things.
Yeah, all right. It looks like things should be working pretty well. We're so excited to be here with you. We're going to be here for about 90 minutes. We're going to do a wonderful Q&A at the end. So if you have questions about Saturn return, astrology, we're going to cover a ton of information in this amazing class. But you can talk to us. We're live. We're here. So make sure to hang around for the chat because it's going to be super sweet and juicy. Our two favorite words, sweet and juicy.
Yeah, it's springtime. Hello.
Yeah. And write your questions and comments in the chat. You can pop in there, say hi, say hello. Oh, I just realized I want to see the chat too. So I'm going to pull up that page.
Yep, just give us 1 second, y'all. Here we go. Okay, great. So I think we're all good to go, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
Let's do this. So welcome to your free training, how to navigate your cosmic rite of passage with clarity and ease. As Sandy said, we're going to be here for 90 minutes, so get comfy.
Yes.
All right, good. Okay, so chat's working, tech check. Y'all can put chats, questions, anything you want to share. We're going to prompt right in the chat below the video. And we want you, this is interactive, right? So, you're not forced to ask questions or share anything in the chat, but we're so happy if you do, and it helps us sort of help you. So Sandy, do you want to give folks a little taste of what they're about to get here?
Totally. So the way that we structure this is first we go into all the juicy astrology information around Saturn and the Saturn return. And I explain to you why Saturn, what is the timing of all of this? What does it mean? This is a great class to help you understand when really good times in your life are, where you need to check in with yourself and get into alignment. So that's what this is all about. And so after I'm finished teaching that, what we're going to do with Dana is Dana's going to lead us into a wonderful coaching process to help us find deep core alignment by looking at our core beliefs. And so this is really a healing process. We've had what typically comes up is some really important stuff. This helps you come to some really important insight about whatever is specifically going on in your life right now. So that means any place where you're stuck, where there's things that you need to work out, you're in the right place, because we're going to do some really good, wonderful work around that and help you shift so that you can, this is all about, our work in the world is all about finding your power and stepping into your power when you're feeling called to do that. So that's why we're here. And then we're going to share with you an opportunity that we're offering today to take this work deeper. And we do have a really special gift bonus that's only going to be available until 5 p.m. Eastern time today. So make sure you hang out to hear about that and hear about the opportunity to go deeper. And we'll do our Q&A. And so did you have anything?
Yes. I just, just so folks know, if you don't know us already, we introduced right at the top, Dana Balicki, transformational coach living out in Joshua Tree, California. And then my beautiful sister here, Sandy Citron, astrologer.
We're not actually sisters, but
Well, yeah, no, like sisters from another mister kind of thing.
Yeah.
But amazing astrologer and hypnotist. And Sandy and I have actually been friends for almost 20 years now. And we've, we went through our Saturn return together. You'll learn more about what that is, but we've been through a lot together. Let's just say that. And, we've struggled with, like unfulfilling and troublesome relationships and like unsatisfying work and burnout and stress and, like lack of purpose and meaning and not knowing what we're doing and not knowing how to move forward, right? We've been through all of it. We've been through so much of it together. And so everything that we're going to share today is work that we have done ourselves, right? So we're not just sharing stuff that we're like, oh, that sounds cool. No, like we've done it, we've embodied it, like we've changed, we've embodied the change, and we're here to share those tools with you.
Yes. And in case you didn't hear it before, my name's Sandy. I'm an astrologer and a hypnotist. I don't know if I said that yet. So
no, I think I said it.
Maybe you said it. Maybe I missed it. But let me tell you who I am. So I'm going to start now, and I'm going to start teaching about Saturn. And so the first question is, why Saturn? What's this whole thing with Saturn? Why are you and Dana obsessed with Saturn? Well,
because we are sort of obsessed.
We are. I mean, it must, like, if I search the word Saturn on my computer, there's like 1,000 hits at least. Like this is high level obsession. So basically in astrology, one of the ways that we can use astrology is that we can think about the planets as archetypes. And these archetypes are like facets of ourselves, patterns of the human psyche. Okay, and so this is interesting because we get to see through the planets, we get to understand these parts of ourselves. And so Saturn is the part of us that is our inner teacher. And this teacher is trying to remind us of what is truly in alignment on a core soul level. And we all have this part of ourselves within us. And when this part, and we all have a different relationship with this inner teacher, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But just to kind of get the idea here, first of all, is that the reason why I'm obsessed with Saturn is because Saturn is helping us all individually stay on track with who we came here to be, with who we are how we're supposed to be of service to the world, what's going to fulfill us, what's going to help us feel like we're in our purpose. Saturn is kind of like our teacher who's holding the test results and is like, hey, I've got the kind of readout of whether or not you're in alignment with what you're trying to do here. And so when Saturn, there's certain times in our lives when Saturn energy is really heightened. And these times are when we are supposed to kind of like really check in to see if we're in alignment. And so what I'm going to do first is talk a little bit more about this teacher energy and how it feels. And then I'm going to get into that timing so that we can see exactly when it's super pertinent that we check in to take the responsibility to really be who we want to be in the world. So this is serious stuff in a way. And it's also really, really, really the stuff that is like so important to take some time out here and there in your life to really check in with, so that you're not just kind of meandering and using all of your energy in ways that isn't really serving you or your soul. Okay, so let me talk a little bit more about this teacher. So there's different teachers in the zodiac. Saturn's one, Jupiter's one. But I want you to kind of bring to mind right now, like, is there a teacher who you've had, like maybe in elementary school, middle school, high school, who was a very strict teacher, who was like the kind of teacher that, maybe we all would have a different relationship to that strict teacher. Some of us would be like, ooh, there's a strict teacher. Yay, I want that teacher to really like me. I want to do a really good job. I'm going to try to please that teacher. Some of us would be like, ooh, there's a strict teacher. I'm not going to show up to class. But like the idea here is like get that kind of person in your mind. If you ever had a strict teacher, maybe you didn't, but like, what's the energy with that person? Like, why were they acting so strict? There could have been many reasons. But with Saturn, what we like to think about is Saturn being this kind of strict teacher, this more authoritative type teacher who is doing it because Saturn believes that it's going to help you the most. That if you have these kinds of, if you have a high bar to meet, that you're really going to show up and you're going to work really hard so that you actually achieve. And this is like kind of this tough love teacher, this teacher who's like, hey, I'm going to like make sure that you show up on time because I want you to learn that in life you need to be on time. This kind of thing. So if you had a teacher like that, feel free to share their name in the chat. We'd love to do a little shout out to our Saturnine teachers here and get them, get them like feeling the love from afar. I know you had one, Dana.
Oh my gosh, I had one, Miss Golan. Oh my God, 3rd grade. And I had basically the equivalent of like Jupiter in 2nd grade, Mrs. Bridger. And I cried like really hard on it was either the very last day of 2nd grade or the very first day of 3rd grade. I remember sitting in the bathtub and just crying my eyes out and feeling like literally my life was over because I knew I was about to go into the meanest teacher in the school. I was about to go into her class. And I still remember things that she used to say. Like I remember Jupiter, I remember Mrs. Bridger, and I remember Mrs. Golan too. I mean, they were both very impactful teachers.
Interesting. I had a teacher, I'm not seeing any names in the chat here, so I'm assuming none of y'all had any tough teachers. That's a good thing. But if you had one, shout them out. Don't be shy. And so with this, like, I had one and I was like really into this class. Like I really wanted to be like, I wanted to show up on time. I wanted to do all the homework. Oh, Ashley said Mrs. Gannon. Sounds like a very similar name to your teacher, Dana, Mrs. Golan.
Totally.
Anyone else? Throw those names up there. We want to know. And feel free to share where you're coming, where you are in the world right now. We definitely want to know where everyone is. I'm in New York. Dana's in California. Where are you? What time zone are you in? And so this is one way the Saturn energy can come out here. So with this teacher, remember this teacher, in terms of Saturn especially, maybe not your teacher, but Saturn is trying to help you do the best you can do and really show up and really be like kind of like you're getting the test. Saturn is giving you the test. You want to do the test, do a really good job, and then move to the next level. Oh, we got someone from Baltimore. Ashley's from Michigan. That's awesome. We're covering the states. Anyone international? Love to see. And so here, like, this is one way that Saturn can come out, kind of wanting you, this energy of this archetype wants you to achieve, wants you to do really well. Achieve is a good Saturn word. Commitment, responsibility, integrity. Oh my gosh, Canada, awesome. Woo-hoo. And so now, let's look at another way the Saturn energy can come out, because there's lots of different ways that this archetype can show up. Another way is through this kind of teacher voice, but has become like embedded in the mind and has become a little critical. Excuse me. So this is the inner critic. That's another kind of facet of the Saturn archetype. And this happens because a lot of us, most of us, 90% of us at least, have this inner critic voice. And this is like that voice that's like, oh, you're running late again. You've got to hurry up. Why are you always so late? Or, oh, look at your nails. They're so dirty. Why don't you get it together? Or like, you made a typo over there. Why can't you ever spell that word right? And this voice can we all have a different relationship with this voice. For some people, it's really running the show. For some people, it's kind of like a little more gentle. A lot of us need to develop a relationship with this voice. But this can also be Saturn. And the reason why this voice is Saturn is because when you're a kid, a lot of adults are giving you responsibility, or they're not responsibilities, they're giving you adjustments. They're giving you kind of like critique. They're saying, oh, you got to tie your shoes, or you got to like kind of get it together, kid, you know? And that voice, it's like done out of love. It's trying to help you grow. Like these parents, teachers, community members are trying to help you like learn how to be in the world. And it's really a natural kind of human thing, at least as far as I know. I'm not a psychologist, but it happens that like you kind of internalize this and then you kind of say it to yourself. And so this becomes, Saturn rules parents, it rules authority figures. And so this Saturn voice of like self-criticism just gets embedded, and it's like at these times that I'm going to describe in just a moment, these core Saturn transit times, you get a chance to check in with this inner critic voice and see if you're liking the relationship with this voice. Is it working? Is it not working? Is it there's something that needs to change? Are you being super critical of yourself? Are you comparing yourself to others? Are you having these kinds of, like, is this taking up a ton of energy? It probably is, right? So this is one of the ways that Saturn can come up. Now there's a bunch of ways. I'm so excited to hear all of the people in the chat. A Sterl girl says her mom is Jupiter and her dad is Saturn. Traditionally, Saturn is like the quote unquote father archetype, although in my work, I really practice like the fluidity of gender roles and parental roles. And I'm really concerned with, you know, like, to me, Saturn is any type of parent, but traditional astrology, traditionally it's the father. And so I kind of lost track there. So there's a timing of this, and that's what we're going to get into now. And I think this is why a lot of you are here, is to kind of understand, like, well, what's the Saturn return, or what are these other ages you and Dana have been mentioning in your Instagram posts? What's age 37, 44? Why is this stuff important? How does this all come together? So that's what we're here to teach today. So there's timing, and when this timing impacts, and I'm going to go through the timing and explain it in just a moment really clearly. But when this stuff happens, Saturn kind of takes on another role. And this is what I like to call the house inspector role. And this is when Saturn like kind of puts on the headlamp and goes down into the basement to look around and see, like, is there mold in the basement? Are there cracks in the foundation of your house? What's really happening at the foundation of your house that like needs to be fixed, that you haven't looked at for a long time? So if you're gonna try at these different important Saturn transits, if you're going to try to up level and do like something bigger with your life, become more in your own power, sell the house. If you want to sell the house, you have to go do the inspection, go down into the basement and see what you're actually working with, so that you can grow, so you can fix it, so you have awareness and you're understanding and looking at with clear eyes what you've been doing all this time, what junk has been gathering down there. It's going to be time to fix it and change and grow. So this is the timing. So that's what we're going to look at now. Now, let me share my screen here. I just have to organize my windows and share my screen. I'm going to show you how this looks. It's pretty cool. Okay, starting screen share. So you should be able to see this, hopefully. Let me know if you can't. And so here we have Saturn. This is the symbol for Saturn in astrology. This is the glyph. Okay, so imagine here that you have, you were born. Just imagine that you were born. And that at some, like, if you had been a little infant and you were able to look up at the sky right at the moment that you were born and point at the sky, that you would have been able to see Saturn up there in the sky. And so just imagine that this big circle here, this is showing Saturn's orbit, and that this is showing the Saturn's orbit as it moves around the sun. And when you were born, it was at one position in its orbit. It was at 1 degree in the sky, just hanging out there. And then it continued after you're born. It continued to just carry along its business and orbit around the sun, right? And so we're going to look at what that orbit looks like. But just know before we start that this orbit, for Saturn to go all the way around the sun, it's going to take 28 years and some change. So just a little over 28 years to go all the way around the sun and come back to where it was when you were born. So what's 28 divided by 4? 28 divided by 4 is 7. Every time Saturn makes it 90 degrees around the circle, remember a circle is 360 degrees, 360 divided by 4 is 90. Every time Saturn makes it 90 more degrees around the circle, it comes to what we call in astrology a hard aspect. Now you can forget about the 90 and the 360 and the 4 and all that stuff. It's a lot of jargon, it's a lot of math, but just know that every 7 or 8 years, Saturn is going to come to what we call a hard aspect. This is called a transit. This is a time when it's a checkpoint. This is a moment when that house inspector is going down into the basement every 7 or 8 years to see what's in the basement. And so this is a really important time. And so the first time that this happens is right around age 7, right between age 7 and age 8. You come to your first Saturn transit on the Saturn cycle, which is the waxing square. Okay, and so we know that age 7 is the age of reason. This is when kids are, they have enough logic to kind of be able to think for themselves to a certain degree, right? They're still 7-year-olds, but it's called the age of reason. And we'll check back in with that a little bit later when Dana's teaching. And this is really key because this is like, hey, you've got some logic now. You're a little bit more mature. You should be able to understand morals and values and ethics to a basic degree. Okay, and so 7 or 8 years later, we're coming to another hard aspect, a transit that's very important, and this happens around age 14 or right between 14 and 15. Okay, and so this is also a very key age in our development. This is when, we're teenagers. This is like a big deal. You're in high school. You're starting to understand yourself as being very separate from your parents. A lot of kids at this age rebel. You're finding your own ideals, your own values in a bigger way. You're kind of honing in on something here at this age. Super important. And then the next one happens right around age 21. So you're seeing here every 7 or 8 years, there's this key transit. And age 21, you're responsible enough, apparently, to drink in a lot of places in the world. You're taking on a mantle of being an adult now. Your brain has developed to a certain point. And so then finally, 7 or 8 years later, Saturn has moved all the way around the sun. And it's gotten to the place where it was when you were born. And so this happens right around age 28, 29. Really, it's closer to 29 for most people right now. It gets a little murky because of retrogrades. The numbers don't work out perfectly, but they're pretty close. And so this is a really key moment, the Saturn return. This is a big deal. This is when the house inspector goes down into the basement. And we're going to sit here with this for a minute because this is like you're checking in. You're looking to see, hey, are you really who you meant to be? Maybe if you want to think about it this way, you can say, are you doing your soul's purpose? Are you in alignment with your true self? You've had some time now. You're 28, 29 years old. You've set up your life in a certain way. Now, maybe a lot of the decisions that you made throughout your 20s were based on like the way that you believed the world to be based on your childhood beliefs. So there may be some opportunity here at this time to realign and find new alignment. And because Saturn is the planet of limitation, sometimes the way this lesson gets taught to you is through some external limitation, through something happening that's challenging you, that's asking you to step up, show up, and decide who you're going to be. Who are you going to be in the face of this new thing, this challenge? Now, a challenge could be really something really hard for some people. A challenge could also be, getting a new job or getting married or having a child. So, maybe that's a hard thing, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's like something you're really excited about, right? We don't know what the challenge is, but the idea here is that you're looking at the decisions that you've made so far in your life, and you're trying to appraise and figure out like what is really going to be in alignment. A lot of people find a new direction at this time. It's like the veil is pulled off and they're looking and seeing like, hey, I only have so much time on Earth. Saturn rules the body, it's one of the Saturn rules like your reality. Your Saturn rules time It's your limits. You only have so much time on Earth. So what are you doing with it? So this is a really big, important time. Now, I love to say this, the Saturn return doesn't have to be terrible. You know, like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm so scared. Everyone's talking about it. Like, it's not something to worry about ahead of time. What you want to do is prepare. And the way that you prepare is by looking deep within and doing inner work so you know what's in alignment. You know, that's the work to do. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. So we continue. Saturn keeps moving. It doesn't stop. So you have more check-ins, more checkpoints around age 37. So we might have some 37-year-old folks in the chat right now. I'm not looking at the chat box, but feel free to drop in there your name. You know, if you're at one of these ages, you know, say hi. And then we've got age 44 is a Saturn opposition. We keep going. So we just keep counting 7 or 8 years. We've got age 51. And then we have another Saturn return right around age 58, 59. And actually the ages here are the 3 ages of the Saturn return. So you can see first one, 28, 29, right around the end of the 50s, could be 57 too. And then the end of the 80s. And so this is, again, this next Saturn return is like you've been an adult for a while. Now you need to check in and see, like, who am I going to be as an elder? How do I want to give back to the world and be of service to the world now at the point that I'm at now? And this can be, you know, a very, very important time. This is a very important time. This is a lot of self work is happening to look and see, like, what are my offerings? What am I giving back? And so this is the full cycle. I can answer questions about this at the end. I know we'll have a couple. But yeah, this is the way it works. Now, the last thing I want to say here before I put the mic over to Dana is, you know, there's a couple of things that you can do. There's a couple of secrets. And I'm going to be really quick with the secrets. And the idea here is that, like, you know, nothing's really a secret. But the idea is that, like, when all this stuff is coming up, like, the way to work with it is to go in and do the inner work, not to run away. Your tendency when things are hard is to, like, try to avoid it, you know, drink another drink, go shopping, whatever it is. But that is not what you're meant to do at the Saturn return. You're meant to stay grounded, stay in it, do it as much as you can, find support. The other kind of secret is that, like, Saturn these transits can feel very isolating. Most of the clients I talk to feel like they're all alone in this. They feel like there's nothing else that is supporting, you know, no one else knows what they're going through. And I'm always like, no, you're in your Saturn return. Like, this happens to everyone. Like, like, people know what you're going through, but it feels very isolating. And so it's really important to get support at this time. Even though it might feel like it's the last thing you want to do, it's the first thing to do. So those are my little secrets. So now we're going to take all the Saturn stuff, which is all about, like, checking in. If you haven't gotten the memo, checking in, finding alignment. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Dana, and we're going to see how that works. Like, because what my clients always ask me is, like, yeah, okay, so I know I'm supposed to do inner work, but what is that? How do I do that? And I would be like, well, call Dana. So we have Dana here.
That's true. They do call me.
Yeah. So
sometimes my clients, they're like, oh my God, what is going on right now? And, like, we do our work. And then sometimes I'm like, you should probably call Sandy. Because there's something cosmic happening here, right? Great. Hi, everyone. So, you know, everyone watching now or later, I just want to say that what we're about to go into can be a deep experience. And, you know, you're like, just trust right now. Like, I want you to close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, down into your belly. Then let that breath out of your mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Nice cleansing breath. Good. So you'll have the opportunity to watch this. This replay will be up through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, which is actually when our course closes. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments, or in several minutes. We're going to do the coaching work together first, so you can really get a sense of the kind of work that we do. And the replay, the reason I mentioned the replay, besides just that being helpful info, is that you might feel like you want to go back and dig a little deeper, or if you feel like as we're moving through this, you're like, ooh, I want more time in that one area, please do, right? Make some time for you this week. So, Sandy was talking about those little like secret, not so secrets, right? The not so secret secrets. And a lot of times when we're confronted at these times that Sandy is talking about, or just any time in our lives with challenges, really like what we can, what happens is like, we want to get away. We want to get through it. We want to like make sense of it. Like, let's fix it already, right? And that fix it, that troubleshooting is part of our cultural pathology of wanting to, of fixing, of troubleshooting. And we really focus then on us, like everything being a problem to be fixed, and we can see ourselves as problems to be fixed. And I just want you to know, like, you are not a problem to be fixed, right? You do not, your relationship, your relationships in the world, with other people, with lovers, with friends, with your family, with your body, with money, with your work, those are not problems to be fixed, right? Like Sandy and I really believe in doing work that's integrated, right? That really touches on the holistic, speaks to the big picture, the big vision that you are and that you can have for yourself, and the way that you can move through the world. So, so even though like as the challenges come up and you might want to like resist, I just want you to notice if you can just lean towards it a little bit, even just in this next exercise together, right? So we're going to dive into some coaching. We're going to move some of these Saturn insights, the things that may have, you might have reflected on, like, oh yeah, wow, yeah, that was happening for me at 14, or like, oh, that's happening for me now at my Saturn return, or I'm not in, or, my open square 37, right? Sandy and I went through that last year. It's like, what I really, whatever's been coming up for you throughout this time together today, I want you to think about a pattern in your life that isn't working, right? So we're gonna build on any insights you've already had. We're gonna move them into action. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'm not gonna be checking the chat while I'm talking, but I'll check afterwards. And if anything, anything happens, Sandy, just give me a holler. So this is work. What I'm about to share is work that I was a student of, I became a student of on my 28th birthday, right? So right at the very top of my Saturn return, I didn't know really that was what was going on. My first coach, the effervescent raw goddess, was like, yeah, honey, this is your Saturn return. And I was like, my what? And then I learned about it real quick. And she said, look, the best thing you can do is to do your inner work, right? Like just what Sandy said. And I'm so blessed that I had these tools that were, that I was just trying on. So of course I was just like a fish out of water with them, but that I had some of these tools to work with, because they really helped me and changed my life, right? So I was a burnt out political activist and organizer, right? Coming into my Saturn return, and my life is very, very different now. And I'm very glad for it. So this work that I'm about to share is around mindset, right? And so it's really like mindset is how, and then we're going to practice it, right? So I'm going to drop some mindset knowledge, and then we're going to play with it, because that's how I love to work. So mindset is really like a structure that, and so you don't have to turn the slide on yet, maybe just in a sec though. Mindset is really an internal structure, right? So when Sandy and I were designing this work around like how to work best with Saturn and with these times of our lives, it became really clear that mindset was like the perfect accompaniment. It was like the exact work that needed to be shared. Now, in our course, the Saturn Return Workshop, which we'll share more about right before we get into the Q&As, and we'll share a little special offer and everything for you. You know, there are other things that we do, but mindset is definitely like at the crux of it. And when you learn to master your mindset, right, this isn't about controlling your thoughts or controlling your emotions. This is about becoming so aware. And you might already feel like you're super aware of your thoughts, but I actually promise you that there's so much more. But when you become masterful with mindset, you actually can learn how to shift your own internal structures, right? So it's like you get to break down the structures that you've been living with for a long time that are no longer serving you, and create ones that do serve you for where you are right now and where you want to go and who you want to become and the way you want to feel and the life that you want to live, right? This is all possible. So this was everything that I learned in my Saturn return, and I'm so happy to share it. So this is, again, not about trying to understand or control what's outside of you. It's about understanding what's happening inside of you, how to get, how you got to where you are right now in this moment, watching this video, and deciding if this is the trajectory that you want to continue on. All right, so real quick, mindset. Sandy, you can throw up the slide. So I go into way more depth. Oh, wait, let me, hold on. I got to hit this, present to everyone. Just give me a quick holler if Sandy, folks watching this, if you can make sure we can see the slide, and Sandy, you can just let me know if you see that we're all good. If anyone in the chat can feedback. So I'll just start going, assuming we're all good. So in terms of mindset, this is, let's call it an orbit, right? Since we're working with Saturn here. So up at the top, we have an experience, right? So you've had many experiences in your life, but we're going to focus back, and we're going to take this a little, into practice in a moment. But our pinnacle experiences that really shape us the most, sometimes we think that they're like in high school or college, and those are all extensions of things that happened earlier. Sandy, are we good to go? You have to give me a holler since I can't see you. Oh yes, okay, I see that. Great. So remember when Sandy was doing the chart of Saturn's orbit, she was talking about how at the first checkpoint after you're born is age 7, right? And she was talking about the age of reason, and she was talking about that's when we start to internalize and emotions. That's when we start to understand more complex emotions. So that's actually in psychological timing. It's around age 7 that our mindsets start to gel, right? That we really start to go like, oh, this is the world around me. Oh, this is who I am in the world around me. And we start to make up our minds about who we are and about the world. And then we continue on with these thoughts, with these, you'll understand how they become more deeply rooted into your psyche. And we continue on with these thoughts that then become that drive the patterns of our lives, and we can still be operating with ones we came up when we were 7 years old. Super common. In fact, I've never met someone where that is not true. So at the top, of our orbit here, right? Or we can think of it like a clock, is experience. And this could be a specific time of life. It could be like a specific incident, or it could be like over a span of time. Right? So we have an experience, and usually when we're thinking about mindset and we're doing this kind of work, we're looking at destabilizing experiences, right? So something that made you feel destabilized or insecure, unsafe, unsecure as a child. And so sometimes that can be hard. Sometimes we know, we're like, yeah, that was a trauma. Sometimes we've done therapy and inner work, and we're like, oh yeah, that time, that was really intense. And then sometimes we're using our adult mind to be like, well, yeah, my parents got divorced, but that's fine. They went on, they moved, they met other people, they fell in love. It was it was better off for everyone, or at least that was my story. And I didn't necessarily give myself credence to have that full experience and to realize that was actually really destabilizing for me, right? So I want you to just try on, as we go into the work, like just softening into like your child experience and not just using your adult judgment. So top of the clock, the top of the orbit experience. Then we move into perception, which just means that we're thinking about it. We're thinking about that experience. Why did it happen? Perception is thought. You are having thoughts. 90% of our thoughts are repeats from the day before, right? So like that's the bad news. The good news is that we have about 10% to work with space at any given moment to start to shift and create change. So the perception is just the thought that you had about that experience of like, oh, why did my parents, why are my parents fighting? Like, is it my fault? Did I do something bad? I hear them yelling about me, or I hear them yelling about money, and like maybe money is really bad, or me, you know what I mean? Like, did anyone feeling me here? In this idea of thoughts and, like how we start to understand these experiences of our lives, right? So because we think on repeat, and because everything in the universe is made up of energy, right? We won't geek too hard on quantum physics here. But it's like every thought, energy follows thought. Every thought is energy. And so if we have the same thought over and over, it becomes like a wavelength. And let's just imagine then that wavelength almost becomes like a groove in a record, right? And it becomes a belief, right? So if we go down to, if experience is up at 12 o'clock on our clock, perception's over at 3, belief is down at 6 o'clock, right? This is part of our orbit here. And so those thoughts, you think them enough times, they root into your psyche. It's like a thought is really a seed, and you plant the seed into your psyche, and then it takes root over time, right? And the good news is that we can actually work with this process, and that is what we're about to do here. And that is what we go deeper into in the Saturn return workshop. But then we have a belief. And so then the belief could be like, oh, well, I'm not, maybe I did something wrong, right? The thought was like, oh, maybe mom and dad are fighting about me, right? Maybe I did something wrong. The belief is like, I'm wrong. I can't do it right. I'm a problem, right? Maybe my needs or desires, my needs and wants are problems, right? Whenever I felt like I needed something, I felt like my parents were fighting. So, we start to believe like, oh, right. So then my needs and desires are problems, right? They hurt other people, right? We can even take it there. So anyway, we take that belief and it's like, we just run around with it and forever until we decide not to anymore and make that unconscious belief conscious, right? So this is all happening in the unconscious mind. And so those beliefs then fuel thoughts, emotions, and actions on a daily basis, right? So you're thinking like, you speak up at a meeting at work, and maybe, someone says like, oh, there's no time for that. You're like, oh, see, I knew that like my needs or my, like what I had to contribute, like wasn't important or was a problem, right? So we start to then go up to experience, back up at the top, and recreate the same experience over and over, right? Or we start to, it's like our emotions and our actions, which include self-talk and speech. So does anyone have any questions about mindset before we move on, right? Does that make sense? I'm going to go ahead and because I know that I'm out in desert. We're at a windstorm out in the desert here. So I know that I have a little bit of delay. So that's the basic structure of mindset. So now let's play with it, right? Like, let's dig in, like, let's use this. So at the top of mindset, I started to ask you to really think about a pattern in your life, right? I want you to think about a pattern in your life right now. Maybe something that came up during Sandy's convo, maybe something that just came up during my explanation of mindset and how it works. A pattern that isn't working for you, one that you keep finding yourself circling back on, and you can't seem to break out of it no matter how hard you try. I want you to write it down. I want you to write it in your journal. And then by all means, feel free to share it in the chat. We had some really beautiful shares on Friday. And, just feel free. But first, write it down in your journal. It's a pattern in your life right now that's not working for you. And it could be, oh God, I'm just like struggling with like dating and relationships, and I can't seem to connect, or I can't seem to make relationships work, or I'm struggling with my mom, or at work, I just can't seem to like find meaningful work, or maybe it's with money. Like whenever I get money, I just spend it and I feel really bad and I'm not saving any of it. Or, my relationship with my body, I just, I'm so mad at it and I just can't seem to lose weight, or whatever it is, whatever is a pattern that feels real for you right now, go ahead and write it down in your journal. Yes, someone shared victim mentality in my relationships. Yeah, got it. Good. We're going to work with that. Right. So just the slide here right now, and actually, Sandy, I'm going to have you take it down in just a second. So the fourth, this is what I'm going to loosely walk us through the 4 steps of transformation as I have learned them from my many amazing teachers, including David Gershon, Gail Straub, and the wonderful Raw Goddess, and J. Love Calderon. So we're going to move first into awareness. I'm going to guide you into some vision, then into some transformation, and then give you the tools for growth. So Sandy, why don't you actually take that slide down? I don't know, because this is sort of deep work. So I would rather folks like see my face, even though I can't see yours. Yeah, so folks wrote connecting with my family, views about marriage, can't stop spending money. Totally, right? So all of these are patterns, right, where we just feel stuck. And I'm sure we've all tried to do something different, right? Like maybe we've like come up with, like got some free Excel spreadsheet and been like, I'm just going to track every penny spent, or I'm going to, try to just, like be cool around my parents, or I'm, whatever it is, right? I'm sure
Dana,
we've all...
will you make it so that we can see you?
Oh, right. Yes. Okay, thanks. I definitely need to click that button. We did that last time. Okay, so here we are. So we've all definitely tried, relationship with my body, hard to lose weight, totally. So we've got the pattern. So now I want you to, one, just acknowledge that you've probably tried to do something to do your way out of it. But remember back in, the mindset little cycle, that orbit that we just went through there, it was all about the belief, right? And so lots of us try to make change in the thoughts, emotions, actions part. And that's not how it happens, right? That's not sustainable change. So we're going to go down to the belief. So I'm going to ask you now, when you look at that pattern, what is the story you're telling yourself about yourself in that pattern? What are you believing about yourself in that pattern, right? What do you believe about yourself? When you look at that pattern, I want you to like zoom out, or this might feel like a zoom in, but either way, whatever the zoom is, I want you might be like, oh, well, so-and-so needs to stop being such a jerk, or, whatever it is, you might want to point externally, like, I just don't have enough time, right? I want you to look at like, what do you believe? What's the story you're telling yourself about yourself? Are you telling yourself that you don't have enough time, that maybe you're not really valuing your own needs? I don't know. Really look at like, for the person who wrote, being a victim in their relationships, what are you believing about yourself? What do you believe about yourself in your relationships? Write it down in your journal. Feel free to share once you've written it down in the chat, but first and foremost in the journal. Good. Okay. Anyone have, you're welcome to share. Of course, I know that this is all tender stuff, so don't feel like you must. But I want you to just like maybe a little hand on the heart there for a moment and just like, right, just like tenderness with yourself for what you've been believing probably for a long time. So now we're going to go to the root, right? We're still in this awareness part of this process. But I want you to you can close your eyes. Hand on the heart can always be helpful. Both hands if you need it for a moment, or one hand on the heart, even one hand down on the belly. I want you to tune into where this one comes from, where this belief about yourself. When's the first time you remember thinking this? When do you remember this belief, like when it first made an appearance for you? I need to go back and if you can go back as early as you can remember, like back to childhood, and just tune into when you remember that belief, right? First occurring to you, when you remember it starting to show up in your mind, in your spirit, in your energy. And then go ahead and write that down. And as you're remembering, I want you to also just see yourself at that age. Okay. So I want you to keep your focus, or bring your focus back after you're done writing in your journal. I want you to bring your focus back, close your eyes again, and see that young one. And I want you to shine some love and light on them and some forgiveness. Because yes, they came up with this thought that eventually turned into a belief over time. They were just trying to survive. They were just trying to make it through, right? We're wildly resilient as children. We're not always terribly wise in terms of life experience. So there was no way that your little one knew that, like, oh, I'm going to think this thought, and I'm going to think it a bunch, and then I'm going to believe that I'm not doing it right, and then come up with all the coping mechanisms, right? We don't spend as much time today on coping mechanisms, but we'll touch on them in a moment. But then come up with all those coping mechanisms and be like, yeah, I'll just do that for the next, 25 years. There was no way your young one knew that. They were just trying to make it with what they had. So you're going to shine some love and forgiveness on them. And you're going to shine some acknowledgement and appreciation on them for surviving, for getting through, because they did, and you're here. So take a moment, see that young one, that young version of you. Just shine some light, embrace the amazingness that they are. You can take a moment here, be the one you needed when you were young. This is you time traveling. This is you connecting with a very important part of you. Good. And just let that little one know that you'll be back to spend more time with them, because you will. And see a door closing in your mind. And so I want you to tune in here just for a moment about what is it? Well, you can think for a moment about what the benefits were, right? These are your coping mechanisms. And some of them are going to be actual benefits of like how you made that belief work for you, right? Did you become super self-sufficient? Do we have any self-sufficients in the house? Right? Like, did you become someone who was just like an overachiever, right? Or did you just push your emotions down because they seem too troublesome? Did you just, like, was there something you resisted or ignored because you felt like there wasn't room for it and you just told yourself like, nope, not going to go there, right? Or did you really like lean into a certain way of being or acting or thinking about yourself, right? So just notice, take a few moments, write down any of the benefits, right? These are going to illuminate some coping mechanisms. You can come back to this one for homework because I think it'll be really useful for you. Okay, good. And now I want you to take a moment and tune into the cost. What's the cost of continuing to hold on to this belief? This belief about yourself and the world around you and yourself and the world around you. What is it costing you? Is it costing you relationships? Like high quality ones? Is it costing you your freedom? Is it costing you your creativity? Is it costing you joy? Is it costing you happiness? Is it costing you vision? Is it costing you your life? Chances are it is. Write it down in your journal. You can feel free to share in the chat. We're about to move on here to just those last couple of steps. Because that was all awareness. And you might have had deep awareness around some of these patterns. Maybe you found something new today. I hope you did. But let's keep moving this energy, right? I don't want to just leave you here with like, oh, this is costing me my life and my joy. Okay, like, bye. No, right? So just like be tender with yourself, appreciative of yourself for doing this work. This next step now is called vision. And vision is, I want you to think about, how would you like things to be? If you could have your way, and you can, that's the good news. How would you like things to be? How would you like to feel? How would you like to feel? Right? What do you, not just what you want to do or have, right? Like, I want to have a great job, or I want to have a rockin' body, whatever that means to you, whatever, those are fine. Those are part of vision. But I want, in this moment here, I want you to tune in. How do you want to feel? Like, really, what's the experience you want to have of being alive on the planet right now? And for this lifetime, your one precious life, how do you want to feel? Write it down. When you write it down, it makes it real. And we have some beautiful shares in the chat. Anyone want to share their vision, right? How do you want to feel? The other day we had some folks that were saying they want to feel in harmony. They want to feel free, vivacious, creative, important, alive. Free came up again. Thoughtless joy, creative, unafraid. Want to feel seen and heard. Right? Want to live confidently, show all of who I am without fearing judgment, rejection, punishment. Secure. I see secure. Yes. Feel strong, healthy. Know that I can trust my body. Beautiful. Good. So keep, like you might come back and keep leaning into the vision here. The vision is like, sometimes we're like, oh, I want, like some of the ones I read where it was like, oh, I want to feel unafraid to share myself, right? So then it's like, well, then how would you feel sharing yourself, right? So yes, we learn by contrast, and sometimes we're like, well, I don't want to feel this, but then you can name that, but then I always want you to explore. So if that's how you've been feeling, that's what's coming up for you right now. You're like, well, I know how I don't want to feel. Then let that inform how you do want to feel, right? So if you're like, oh, I don't want to feel judged, well, then what do you want to feel, right? Do you want to feel, is that free? Is that grace? Is that ease? I don't know, right? So just, you can use contrast, but let that contrast show.
Anybody, did we lose Dana?
Sorry, I fell out there.
Well, I'm still here. I think Dana's coming back in.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There, I see her in the little picture, but Dana, can you change your presenter screen? Take off the presenter and then let the new you be visible? Because I think the old you is still visible, at least on my side. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Let's see here. We just have a little technical glitch. Am I the only one who can't hear Dana?
I don't know. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I think it's all of us.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Oh, Sasha can hear her.
Okay, good.
So it's just
you all can hear me?
So keep talking, Dana. Okay. Everyone else can hear you. It's just I can't.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, so hopefully, yeah, okay, great. So we'll keep going here. Good. So this next part, so we've got the vision, right? You've got the cost, right? So we looked at the cost. The cost is really high, and that vision needs to be super compelling. And so basically now we want to get at like what, what's the shift, right? Like what's the shift that that you must make, that about that how you see yourself, right? A shift in the way that you see yourself and what you believe about yourself that that's going to get you to that vision, right? So I want you to consider and think about and feel about like, what is that shift, right? So I'm going to go back to our chats really quick. There was this feeling of like, Ashley wrote, I want to feel strong, healthy, and know that you can trust your body, right? So what we're looking at here is what's called the growing edge, right? So this is like a new thought, right? Like an expansive place that you might not have yet visited yet. This is for all of you. Where
Okay, Dana's gone now, but maybe I'm here. Sorry guys, we're having technical difficulties. So let's see here. I'm just gonna hang out, hold the space, and maybe the internet on Dana's side is kind of phasing out and being a little wonky because of that windstorm. So let's see. What was Dana just talking about? Maybe I can pick up until she comes back. I'm asking Sasha. Sasha's here. Sasha's holding it all together.
Hi.
Dana's back.
I think we keep
Yay.
Can you hear me now?
She's here. I can't hear you, Dana, but keep going.
Okay. This is a fun one, y'all. So, you know, where we're at here is working with, you know, it's like you've been thinking about yourself in a specific way for a very long time. And you know what that is because that pattern has led you to this moment, right? And to all of the things that you've shared, right, in this chat or that you've been writing down in your, journal. And so, you know, what we have here is like, this is a new perspective, a new perception, a new thought to think about yourself. Like, what is possible for you? What must you believe in order to take a step towards that vision, right? What must you believe about yourself in order to take a step towards that vision? Write it down. Okay, good. Anyone have anything that they want to share? Let's see. I'm going to ask, I know that so Sandy can't hear me at all. But when we're actually going to work with this because this is not our first rodeo here. So let's use Sandy real quick as an example, right? If anyone feels like they need an example of this. Actually, let me just check. Does anyone feel like they need an example of a growing edge of this shift, right? About like how, like a different way, like what you must believe about yourself. Okay, Ashley says, yes, I do. Okay, good. So, so Sandy, okay, good. People are like, yes, I have no idea. Okay, great. So yeah, this is stretchy, y'all. Like this isn't easy. So what I'm asking you to do here is not easy. I'm actually asking you to think a thought that you have never thought about yourself before, right? To like go outside of your programming, but it's possible, right? Because remember, we're accessing this 10% of new thoughts that you can have every day. We get stuck in the 90%, but you have this 10%. So, Sandy and I have done lots of this work. I'm just going to chat her real quick. I can't believe that she can't hear me. This is too funny. Okay, Sandy, thumbs up. Okay, so Sandy and I used, Sandy was my client at one point, right? Sandy and I have been friends for 20 years. And you know, when we did this work together, one of the big things that we uncovered for her was she was having these really like sticky relationships in her life. And it's so funny that she can't hear me while I'm talking about her, but we've told this story before, so we're safe and I have her permission, just so you all know. So she was having really difficult relationships in her life. That was the pattern, right? And it was like showing up in like her love relationships, and really, and her family relationships. She was having a really hard time. This was like right through her Saturn return and after and her whole life. Right. And so basically what happened was like, we looked at that pattern and we started to break it down. And she started to realize that, like, you know, in her life now, when she was getting in relationship with, you know, with men, you know, romantic partners, there was this feeling of like always needing to like hold the relationship together, like giving, right? And just like not really like getting a lot back. And so when we looked at the pattern, she realized that in her relationship with her family had been very chaotic when she was young, and she had to be the one to hold it together. She was the older sister. She was the one who was like always making things okay, always having to like, you know, like be the glue, right? And that glue-ness, her, you know, her ability to be that glue, made it like that was how she saw her value. That was how she understood her value, right? So that was her, you know, when she saw that, she realized that her value had been attached to, you know, being the one who could make it, you know, like who could get things done, right? Who could like, you know, take everything, get everything done, like be the support, be the support, and just like be there for everyone, right? Hold on, I'm going to ask her just to chat. So then, you know, she wanted to feel like free and open and loved, and she wanted to experience relationships, vision, right, that were really reciprocal and respectful, and where, you know, it wasn't about how much she did, it was just who she got to just be honored and loved for who she was, right? So,
can everyone hear me?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so I can't hear Dana, but I can talk. So I think Dana was asking what my growing edge was in the experience when, I mean, I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I'm guessing it was like growing up and like feeling like I had to work to help everyone in my family, and it was just for like my work and my effort. That's where my worth was. That was my belief. And my like growing edge, like my new belief was this concept that I could just be loved just for being alive. That like just my own life, that I was alive was enough reason to be loved, and that I am loved just because I'm alive. That was it. That was the edge.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you, Sandy.
Yay.
Yeah. You know, so that's the shift. So Sandy had to have a new thought that like, wait, what if I'm not just valued for what I can do for someone else? What if I'm valued just because I exist? What if I am of value? What if I'm valuable just because I exist? My mere existence makes me valuable and makes me lovable, right? So that's the new thought. Okay, good. Someone says, yes, that was, Anand says that was super helpful and similar to the thought connection I needed to make. Thanks. Good. Right. So that was a new thought. Sandy had not had that thought before, right? Sandy had not thought that like, wait, I could just be valuable and loved by being alive, right? So we need that. So now I want you to take this last moment here and we're going to go into Q&A a little bit. So like, if you have questions, you know, we'll start taking them in a few moments here. But this last part is like you know, what I call affirmation, and we can't go into like deep depth around it because we're coming up on our time together. But I want you to, someone says, what were the terms you used? Growing edge, and what was the other one? Ooh, I don't know. Did I use another term besides growing edge? Let me think about that. I'm going to hold on to that question for just a sec here. And the last part is I want you to write down a statement. I want you to write it down, right? Like a new thought, right? The affirmation. It needs to be an I statement. It needs to be stated in the positive, stated in the present as if it already exists. And it's about a change for you and no one else. And it's like, it's on that growing edge. It's electric. You say it and you're like, oh my God, that is really something, right? So for Sandy,
it was, I am worthy just because I'm alive. That was it. And then I had like a visual that went with it.
Yeah, the visualization. Yeah. Beautiful. Good. So, so that's, like you can work on that one for homework if anyone wants to share just like what's coming up. Sandy was, I am worthy just by being alive. This is going to incorporate that growing edge and that vision. Okay. And, like just feel free to write it down. You might go back in. I'll share a little bit more in the the follow-up email that you all get. Have a little note about homework if you want to go deeper. If you want to go deeper, I'm going to tell you in a minute how to do that. This is, I'm just checking the chats real quick here. Someone saying, Ashley say, I'm struggling to find my growing edge. Ashley, I know that you've got, let's just work with this for a sec. So hold on one sec. So Ashley, finding that growing edge, do you want to, if you want to write in the chat any, about where you're at and like, what you've been, like what some of the stuff that's coming up for you here, I can see if I can help you through that. Right. So Ashley, I know you were talking about feeling strong, healthy, knowing that you could trust your body. That was a vision, right? So like what's in the way of you, do you believe it's possible to trust your body? Do you believe it's possible to have full trust in your body? Because sometimes just like believing that it's possible is our growing edge, right? Sometimes it's about safety. Do I believe I could trust in my body and be safe, right? Using your example. So lean into like, anyone else have any other questions or anyone else, want to share their growing edge or want to share what they've been writing down. She says, I'm an all or nothing person. I don't trust my body. All right. So I need I think this like all or nothing, that all or nothing element, which might be, an interesting like astrological, dynamic as well. The not trusting, the saying that like, I don't trust my body. I got it. So do you believe, like what happens when you think about trusting your body? And if you think about like what happens when you think about trusting your body, right? Like I want you to see if you can like, like have a different thought around that. Like just shift that a little bit, right? So if it's like, I don't trust my body, like when I ask you like what happens when you think about trusting your body, I do great at first, but when I hit a big wall, I give up instantly. Yeah, I got it, because you're trying to do your way. You're trying to do your way out of it. You're not it's like you're not changing your mindset about it, right? Does that make sense? Or that's usually what I see, especially around body. So this is about not what you're doing. This is about straight up your relationship to your body. And this is for everyone watching this. Like this is about your relationship to you. This isn't about what you do. This is about how you see yourself, right? So it's like, I need you to get to the, the invitation of Saturn and of me right now is to like get to the root of why don't you trust your body? Right. You might have to go back a little bit and do some, do some more do some more digging looking at this framework, right? Like, why don't you trust your body? Where did the root of that distrust come from, right? And can you shine some love and light on that little one, right? It could be about forgiveness. You could just be, forgiveness is a huge growing edge for most of us. And so that, that forgiveness is, it can be key. Okay. And that forgiveness of like not trusting your body, all the years that you have not trusted your body, and like the decision you made at some point very unconsciously in your childhood, that could, you know, like that could need some forgiveness. Ashley says, wow, I'm going to need a lot of time to find that. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity in a moment here to think about how you might want to be supported in that. Yeah, Nan says, maybe you're holding on to programming from when you were younger about why things have to be all or nothing for you. Holding space for you. That's very sweet. Thank you, Anon6516. Yes, right. So I think that this, Ashley, you're on the cusp of something really big here, and I think it's really available for you. I'm gonna move into Ashley. Stay here. Stay with us here for a moment. So I'm gonna move. We're gonna shift here, but we can come back to this. Okay, good. Ashley says that's so eye-opening. Yeah, I mean, the trust, for all of us, like the root of your pattern now, right? And that like what you believe about yourself. So like Ashley says, I don't trust my body. Like that's the root work we need to do, right? Or that all or nothing, right? Like I have to be all or nothing, which I was saying could be an interesting, you know, astrological piece. Okay. Good. So anyone, you know, like folks, however you're feeling, so however you're feeling right now, right? And like sort of that expansive feeling, like that can continue. And there's a whole structure and framework for this, right? So like, if you're like, how do I do this? How do I get to the bottom of this? How do I continue to move this, right? And so for those of you in, you know, like who did create some like affirmation or some mantra, or you're going back, you have an intention to go back later and to create that, you're going to work with that affirmation every single day. I'll send you a note in the follow-up with the replay here. Well, I mean, you already have the replay, but you'll get a follow-up email from Sandy and I. But that's, you know, this is really like, you're going to work with it. Look at yourself in the morning, in the eyes, every single day, saying this to yourself. It's how you change your mind. It's how you train your brain. Okay. So, let's, you know, I want you to know that like Sandy and I have created this for you. We've created a structure for you, right? We've heard people say like, okay, well, how do I do this, right? Sandy's clients, like, I'm in my Saturn return. What do I do? So we made a program. We made a structure, very Saturnian. I'm going to turn on the Sandy's slides here. So here we go. You know, what we made here is the Saturn return workshop. And, you know, if you're feeling the call to do some inner work, this is what we've created, right? And if you're, you know, in that Saturn transit, or you're nearing one, or you're not in any of them, you know, this is, you know, what we've created with this structure is to help you like really embody these shifts, right? So, you know, this is a structure, and we're going to go into details, you know, where if you want guidance and structure and support and a beautiful community, and Sandy and I as your guides, you like us, you're like, I like these gals, you know, like we're here. And if you're really, you know, ready to step into your power and do this work to design your life, like that's what we've created. I'm going to turn the mic over to Sandy.
Oh, I was muted. Okay. I didn't hear Dana, but I'm here, and I'm super excited to get to like express to you how, you know, this can all continue. I could just watch faces and I could see how much sharing was happening during the part that I couldn't hear. But, you know, if you come into the course with us, this is going to keep going on. Like we've created all these tools. We've created a whole mini astrology 101 course into the Saturn return workshop. And as part of that, you get your chart. You get to get a little report from us that has your Saturn cycle, the next transit coming up. So you get a really personal view, as well as audio trainings about Saturn and the signs and in the houses. And we have these live sessions where you'll be able to ask me your astrology questions, and I'll be able to pull up your chart and help you understand your chart, and from all of that astrology, what that really does is give you insight. And I hope you can see the astrology slide there. No? Oh, weird. Well, I think all the tech is mixed up because I can see it. So I don't know what to say. Okay, Dana ended. That was good. Yeah, just keep going. I could see the astrology slide, so I don't know. I think we're blowing up the tech with all these cosmic high vibes. So I'll try sharing again. I'll end my screen share and then I'll start it over again. So let's try it one more time. And then, so maybe you can see the astrology slide now, hopefully. Nope, okay. Well, and then I'm just gonna turn the mic over to Dana, because you don't really need to see the slide. It's not that important. It's just, you know, I think you get the idea. In fact, I think we don't really need to see any of these slides, but I'll keep it up here just in case.
Okay. So, okay. I'm going to take over from here. Sorry, y'all. This is like a little bit wonkier than our intention. However, so you got from Sandy, you get like a mini 101, astrology 101 baked into the course. So if you want to geek hard, Sandy will meet you. There's no astrology knowledge needed because she's going to show you. And if you're not even, you know, like you can learn whatever you want to learn, right? In terms of the astrology. And you're going to get your own detailed stuff, like really beautifully, like your own personal astrology baked in. So, and you're going to get audios and trainings and videos and a ton of guidance from Sandy. Now on the coaching side, you're going to get more of what you've already experienced today, a much deeper dive right into the mindset mastery work, deep work around emotions and working with your emotions more powerfully, curated energy work. You know, you get daily, weekly homework, exercises, journaling to really like pull up, right? Like Ashley, you were watching, you know, and you were like, whoa, I've got to really dig in deep for that. Well, you're going to get support for all of that, right? And if anyone else is feeling the way Ashley was in terms of like, whoa, like I really got to dig deep for that. Like this is what this structure is built for, right? So this is meant for the long haul. This is meant to create major shifts in your life. Yeah, I think Sandy, you can change.
Okay, and so, you know, we designed this workshop to be super flexible. You have 1 year access. So that means that you have all the recorded teachings and you can download those, you can take them with you. They're there for you. It's supposed to be very flexible. You get all this live coaching time with us. So you get these live Q&As, that's twice a month for a full year. That ends up being about 20 of those. And then you're in our private Facebook group, which is really robust and people support each other in the group. And then we have tons of bonuses. Like every year that we've done this, and this is the third year, we've added like 2 or 3 more bonuses. So they're all there. All of these astrology audios, this incredible journal, the 60-day workbook is the journal. Really beautiful resources, including hypnosis recordings that are designed to help you integrate all of this wonderful transformation deep into your subconscious mind. And we'll probably add more stuff. That's what we do. We're creators, so we love to create. And you can truly take this work with you. So a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know if it's the right time, or I don't know, but the thing is that it's so flexible. You have a full year. And so now's the time to jump in, because what we want to let you know is that in a moment, we're going to let you know that we have a discount that's available only for the next half an hour. So hang out to hear about that. But before we do that, Dana, I'll let you talk about our students.
Oh yeah, I mean, our students are amazing. We have the coolest students in the world, and because you have a year-long access, it's like folks will keep coming back to do the work. So it's a beautiful community that we've really been growing. We have everyone in a private Facebook group. We're actually probably going to move out of Facebook in the next couple months. But there's a lot of communal and collective support. You might be like, I don't need that. And that's cool. You don't have to participate in that. But, one of our amazing students, Cassandra, who then went on to design the job of and find the job of her dreams and get paid way more than she ever thought she would, when she had just given up on finding anything remotely aligned, right? And so she has this to say, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that the workshop fundamentally changed the way that I relate to myself and others, the way I relate to my past and my future, right? The combo of astrological guidance and real life skills to help cope with anything your life might be throwing at you was everything I needed to gain the insight and drive to navigate the trials of my Saturn return. I'll forever look back at this experience as a pivotal, game-changing moment of my life. Truly empowering and enlightening. Beautiful.
So basically, the workshop is all yours for today. Our price right now is $597, or you can do 3 monthly payments of $247. But if you enroll in the next 30 minutes, this is a coupon that's just for you because you're here live. We'll give you $100 off. So the coupon code is Saturn now. And that means that right now you'll get this for $497 or $100 off of those 3 monthly payments. Means that you can sign up right now for $147 for this first payment. And then after that, the last 2 payments will be $247 each. So this is an amazing time to jump in. We really don't know if you're going to get it for less money at any point in the future. This is probably we'll probably be raising our prices pretty soon. So this is the time to slide into this work. You can also add 2 60-minute coaching sessions for $222. So that's 1 session with Dana and 1 session with me. And you get both of those for $222. Normally 1 session with one of us is more money than that. So we've actually had people who had a session booked with me. One lady had a session booked with me, and she canceled it and was like, I'm going to do the workshop instead and get 2 sessions with you for less than that. It's smart, then you get a whole workshop. So the coupon code is Saturn now. And so if you are in, let's do this. And I'll let you finish talking, Dana, since I can't hear you still.
Great. I can hear you though. The last thing too is that for anyone seriously considering joining the workshop, Sandy and I are doing free 15-minute consults. So here's the link, and you can sign up, and you'll end up talking to Sandy, or me. And so if you're really feeling the pull and you're like, ooh, I just have a couple questions, you can ask them now. You can also make time with us, and we'll go, sort of look at connect with you more personally. So, Sandy shared the code. We shared it in the chat. Those last 2, I'm now Anon6216 as opposed to Dana. Sorry about that. But we would love to have you. We would love to do this work with you. This is our purpose. This is why we're here. Sandy and I are super clear about why we're here, doing the healing work that we're here to do. We would love to help you get aligned, right? That's what Saturn wants for you, to get aligned, and to align with your purpose. So if if you're feeling called, the doors close Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, right? So that's the doors closing time. For the next like 30 minutes, you can use this sweet little coupon code, and we would love to support you in any way that we can in your deepest transformation. If you have any questions, we got Q&A now, and you can ask. We'll stay on a couple extra minutes if you have some astrology questions, or you have any questions for me, or you have questions for us about the course. I don't see anything popping up in the box, but as we know, we've been having a little bit of technical difficulties and just like rolling with it. So let's see. So I don't see any questions popping up. I'm just asking Sandy
if anyone has any questions, it's probably what Dana just said, and I'm here. Ask away. Curious about your Saturn transits. We're here to answer your questions right now. But we'll wait just a couple more minutes.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I really invite you all to, through the work the deep dive work that we did together today, you might go back and watch the video later. And I see a question coming up. And just, if you want to do the deeper work, we're here to help you with that. You can also, find us on Instagram, or find us, I'll put our Instagrams in here, or, you can email us at hello@SaturnReturnWorkshop if you have any questions, any follow-up questions about that work.
So if you have Saturn retrograde in your chart, this is something that could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. And I was actually just randomly online today reading some interpretations someone wrote about Saturn retrograde in the natal chart, which is what you're talking about. And I hated the answers that I was seeing online. Like, I was like, no, reject. Like, this is one of those things where you can look up things online and find, it's a little, sometimes with astrology, you can just Google things and look them up and find like not very helpful stuff, like stuff that's like, a little fatalistic. And I'm not into that personally. So if you're asking me, you're going to get my answer, which is specific to me. And it's a good, good, ask me. I would say like Saturn's about lessons. Any natal retrograde planet is going to ask you to really go back and forth over something a couple times, and to really be careful with what it is that you're processing and learning. So when you have Saturn retrograde in your chart, it's kind of a call to action to be extra inwardly looking, extra, work extra to stay in alignment with yourself, to see what those lessons are. It's not so different than any other Saturn placement, but it's really just your soul is like, hey, keep putting your attention on these deep core beliefs, on finding and learning your lessons. Don't do the compulsive thing. We all do it, all the coping mechanisms to keep yourself from having to feel the pain and feel your feelings that we all have to feel. We all have pain. We all have different kinds of feelings. So Saturn retrograde to me is saying, keep going back over these lessons. Keep turning your gaze toward your heart and keep tuning in. Like, it's extra important. That's my interpretation. And don't Google it, because it's like, man, it's pointless.
Right. If you have astrology questions, ask an astrologer, right? That's why they're there. Google is not an astrologer. Sandy's an astrologer. Sandy and I together provide a beautiful structure of astrology and coaching to help you, and we would love to. All right, I don't see any other questions. So there we are. I'm still Anon 6216, so you can see I posted our Instagrams if you want to connect with us there, and you can also slide into our DMs. The link to the 15-minute complimentary consult, we've had a few people sign up already, which is great. And then the $100 Saturn Now, that's the discount code for the $100 off of the Saturn Return Workshop, and it's good for another, 20, 30 minutes here. We'll start the clock. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. We're so blessed to do this work with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such an honor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing yourself into this space, this, internet space where we got to spend time together. And we're going to keep holding space for you in your processing over until the weekend, so we're here, we can answer your questions, and we're with you, like we're on your side, we're on your team, and we are so grateful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And Sandy, I know you can't hear me, but I love you. I think you're the best. Thanks, everyone.